Hello, my friends. Hello, my friends. Are you ready for machine learning? Let's be ready for machine learning. And Andrew and G.
Constructing
Kernels constructive unit. Can you hear him?
There are a lot of these features. These are called polynomials. Basically, all the polynomial terms, up to a fifth degree polynomial, up to a fifth order monomial term. So, and then it turns out there are you choose d's, which is roughly n plus d to the power of d, very roughly. So this is a very, very large number of features. But your computation doesn't blow up exponentially.
So we can have kernel without the phi function. And it makes the computation.
What the simple computation is
so easy
that we derived earlier and applying the kernel trick to it, in which we already had some auto margin classifier. Plus the kernel trick, right? That is the simple vectoration. Okay. And so if you choose some of these kernels, for example, then you could run an SVM in these very, very high dimensional feature spaces, in these 100 trillion dimensional feature spaces, but your computational time scales only linearly.
100 trillion?
As a dimension of your input.
What are we talking about here?
100 trillion dimensional feature spaces.
Guys, do not do 100 trillion.
So, why is this a good idea? Let me just sketch. Let's show a quick video.
Show us a video, Andrew.
Let's see. Okay, projector takes
Get even more NBA action. What? Watch NBA games live without YouTube TV and add NBA League Pass. Well, fuck NBA. Well, actually, let me
this
share my thoughts on NBA.
So, each kernel function
5 minutes. We won't want to get distracted from NBA. Fuck NBA. Why should the basket be so high? Is it called basket? Or the loop? Or the hoop? Or whatever the fuck? I'm a 5'9" guy. 5'9" and something. Maybe 5'10". I don't remember exactly. Why should that be so high? I cannot play it. I want to jump on it. Bing. So on basketball, I had this opinion that we should have like fighting. We should have height classes. That's so stupid to have only one height class and only tall guys play it. It's a game for tall people. Fuck that. I want to play. I don't want to watch basketball. So first of all, I don't watch basketball. This is boycotted. Fuck you, all of. Well, no hatred. But I don't watch a game that I cannot play. That the game is set up in a way that I will end up being a loser. Actually, by the way, I was telling it to a friend, and he told me that there is this guy, and he was crazy. I don't know what his name was, but he was like 5'5" or even shortest NBA player. Yeah, Muggsy Boggs. This guy was 5'3". Alright. This guy was 5'3", Muggsy Boggs, and he was like amazing in NBA. I don't know what, but well, this guy, yeah, he could play in NBA and he could probably jump height of a giraffe. This guy is out. This is like saying, oh, there is a guy in 135 pound that can be the 200 pound guy. Yes, there are, but it doesn't make sense to okay, for that only guy we say that, okay, there we don't need to have weight classes in basketball. Yeah, this guy was amazing. He is crazy, definitely. But just because there exists a guy, we 5'9" and 5'10" people, we don't have to accept the fact that actually I haven't played basketball. Well, maybe um, one of the reason was that from the beginning that motherfucking basket was so high in the sky. So first of all, I don't watch a game that I don't play. If I want to watch a game, I should be part of that game, motherfuckers. Therefore, I'm interested in playing basketball. I like to play, maybe it's a fun game. So many people are enjoying it. We want to be involved in the fucking game, not impressed by it. So, uh, I believe we should have height classes for basketball. Dude, it doesn't make sense. Even it doesn't. Oh, there are some people saying that. Like okay, there are some people. No, there are some people who I love. Like some of my friends. I told them, yo, we should have height classes for basketball, and they said no. We want to see like giant people jumping around and this kind of stuff. We don't. We want to like see nature's extreme. No, something like that. Jump in the sky and like play. It's not true. You watch uh, lightweight fights. Lightweight fights are actually more interesting. They are like people in those fights are more skillful. If you look at wrestling, like Conor McGregor, right? He was a lightweight. He was not heavyweight. So it's like there are people saying, "Oh, I want to watch this high, like very uh, heavyweight guys," but it's not true. Once you watch people who are also shorter, I think that basketball has another flavor to it. Maybe those people are faster. They have other physical attributes that helps them play basketball in a different way. So it's about basketball. Um, yeah, I want to play a game and I want to win. I want the game to be set up in a way that I have high chances of winning and being an important role of the game and team. So that's it. What else I wanted to say is okay, we should have height class for basketball. Um, like maybe it is like I don't know. We can have different types. We should try and see which one works. We can say okay, there is a maximum height that is like 180, and for that height we need to put the basket on a level. Oh, the other reason. First of all, these reasonings are bullshit. We have to play this game, and we have to do the marketing, and people watch it. It will be better than NBA. I'm promising you. Also, the same with volleyball. Um, at the end of the day, you want to play the game and you want to enjoy it. I am tired of watching other people. So the other thing is that, okay, if it is like that, we can also talk about NBA and say that, okay, why don't we put the basket 7 meter in the sky and then see who can play the game? It's so stupid. Some guy at the beginning started to put the basket at the top, at a very high, like what is it? High altitude, and then everybody agreed. That's so stupid. Just play the game that you are better at it. So first of all, I don't watch NBA, and actually I like to play basketball though, like for fun, right? I want to play basketball for fun and see how it is. But like I tried it 2 3 times. The fucking goal was so high. It's not called goal. The fucking hoop. Hoop was so high. I couldn't drop. I couldn't have fun. It's like putting, yeah. Okay, you are like, I don't know how tall these guys are. Like, tallest guy. Tallest NBA player. 7'9". Dude, 7'9"? I used to have a friend, he was 6'8", and he was scary. 7'9". Actually, I don't know how. 7'9". 7'9" to centimeter. Wait, why didn't Google tell me? No. 7, 9. Right. 236. Okay, this guy is 236. Who is this guy? Sun Ming Ming. Sun Ming Ming. Isn't it the character in, what was that? Ming Ming. All right. Sun Ming Ming is 7'9", but if you put him in front of a basket which is like 7 meter up in the sky, he cannot jump and do one of those cool stuff. He looks like a 5'9" guy in front of a normal basket. How high is the basket in basketball? Ten feet. Oh, actually, we have a website. 10 feet high. Is it 10? Three meters. So this guy is like 230 and can jump and do the thing. But if it is 7 meter high, this guy is looks like a little person. Or Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan ain't shit. You see, Michael Jordan, Lebron James, Kobe Bryant, if they go on each other, they can't do any shit next to a 7 meter high basket. So, I'm sorry, I'm not sorry, but if you want to play basketball and you're 5'10", 5'9", comment below. We join, we gather together, we put a hoop that is low and we play together. And we don't let any guy above, I don't know. We put it, well, this guy is, how high? Michael Jordan. Lebron James. Michael Jordan is Lebron. And we get famous together. There is no talk about Michael Jordan anymore. We are famous after that. So the same with volleyball. So this guy's height is 6'9". LeBron James is 6'9". I don't know, 6'9" in centimeters. So it is 2 meter. This guy is about 2 meter. And the basket is 10 feet, which was about 230, right? So 2 meter to 230. We are like 5'9", which is like about 175 or 177, I don't know, 175 times 236 over 200, 206. We put the basket at Michael Jordan, actually it is Michael Jordan's height. LeBron James height. So we put the basket at his height and we start playing. We can have height classes for, I don't know, 5'5", 5'7", 5'9", and then 5'8", 5, 11, and 6, 1, and 6, like something. And we find that height. We try it and we will find it. And then we play as well. Why should we watch them? Why should we play in a game that like tall players are in advantage? They are not like super talented, just the game is set up in a way that they have advantage. Like, look at Messi, right? He's not super tall. He's more talented. Like, I feel he's more talented. Even like in soccer, you have advantage if you're taller, right? Because you can head. But we can see that like none of these NBA players show up in soccer. We don't have like very tall guys who are amazing. Yeah, we have, but we have short guys who are also amazing. So basketball is a sport that I have beef with. Actually, I don't have beef. I have beef with the idea that we don't have height classes. If you want to watch it, we have to be spectators, not players. And when I tell it to my friends who are like my height, they say, no, we want to watch like. I don't. Okay, I cannot understand. I used to watch soccer when I was playing soccer. I stopped watching soccer after I got injured playing soccer, and now I am like more kind of a UFC fan because I go to kickboxing club. It's like I can identify with that sport more, and it gives me more motivation to be part of that culture and community, right? When I go to the kickboxing club, club, I can talk to people. Also can learn from watching UFC how to fight, and then like those ideas, our coaches talk about them in the class, in our sessions. But what happens to me if I watch basketball? Like at least there's nothing I can learn directly from basketball. Uh, that was something inside me for a while. Not inside me, I talked about it to my friends, but nobody agreed to start another company besides NBA. Maybe NBA should help us. Dude, guys on a wheelchair, special, what are they? They have their own basketball. What is wrong? Not that this is anything wrong with them. Just 5'9" people have to have their own basketball height class. That's what I'm saying. Yes. Basketball for Middle East, maybe. Alright, get back.
Yes,
Wow.
up to trivial differences, right? If you have a feature mapping with features
All
that
right.
are permuted or something, then
Let's go
feature
for
space.
maybe 40 minutes.
So there are
I
trivial
talked a lot.
transformations like that, but if you have a totally different feature map,
Next time I
you
don't
expect to
stop.
need a totally
What
different
about that? Next time I won't stop it. And it was YouTube fault. Suddenly something popped out. Watch NBA on YouTube. Fuck you, YouTube. I don't watch NBA. And you distracted me and wasted 20 minutes of my golden time. Okay, guys, he's showing video.
This is a YouTube video that Ken Cotton Farouche, who teaches CS230 elements such as I use. So I don't know who Udi Aharoni is, but this is a nice visualization of what a support vector machine is doing. So let's say you have a learning algorithm where you're trying to separate the blue dots from the red dots, right? So the blue and the red dots can't be separated by a straight line, but you put them on a plane and you use a feature mapping phi to throw these points into much higher dimensional space. So it's now throwing these points into three-dimensional space. In this three-dimensional space, you can then find W. So W is now three-dimensional because applying the optimal margin classifier in this three-dimensional space that separates the blue dots and the red dots. And if you now examine what this is doing back at the original.
It looks like toothpaste advertisement.
Space, then your linear classifier actually defines that elliptical decision boundary. Does that make sense? Right? So you're taking the data. Right.
Oh, dude, they are showing the video from MIT OpenCourseWare.
So you're taking the data.
And they're at Stanford, right? That's funny.
Mapping it to a much higher dimensional feature space, three-dimensional is
and we are in MIT watching them.
Dimensions.
That's it. That's called karma.
In that 100 trillion dimensional space, which is going to be
I will title this video Karma, Lebron James.
And then when you look at what you just did in the original feature space, you found a very nonlinear decision boundary.
Karma and Lebron James. That's a good title.
So this is why, and again, you can only visualize relatively low dimensional feature spaces, even on a display like that. But you find that if you use a SVM kernel, you can learn very nonlinear decision boundaries like that.
Oh, that's the whole thing about. So we will take to high dimensions so that we can use curves instead of lines to do our regression, right, and classification. Once we have polynomials, we can have curves in lower dimensions.
Space represented by the feature mapping phi of x, because the data always have to be linearly separable.
Sometimes we put the data in a higher dimension and then use a linear function. Sometimes we keep the data in the lower dimension. Instead, we use polynomials to be able to draw the.
So here's some intuition you might have about kernels.
How to make kernels.
If x and z are similar, if two input examples x and z are close to each other or similar to each other, then k of xz
should be 0.
Which is the inner product.
Wait, if x and z are similar, what should be k of x and x? Oh, k of x and x is supposed to be the inner product of x and x. Well, it should not be 0.
Between x and z, right? Presumably this should be large.
Should be large.
And conversely, if x and z are dissimilar, then xz,
we won't be able to have a separate characteristic,
the
right?
inner product of two very similar vectors that are pointing in the same direction should be large, and the inner product of two dissimilar vectors should be small. Right? So this is one guiding principle behind what you see in a lot of kernels. Just if this is phi of x and this is phi of z, the inner product is large, but if they kind of point off in random directions, the inner product will be small. Right? That's how vector inner product works. And so, well, what if you just pull a functionality straight there, out of the air, which is k of xz equals e to the negative x minus z squared over 2 sigma squared. Right? So this is one example of a similarity. If you think of kernels as a similarity measure function, this, let's just make up another similarity measure function. And this does have the property that if x and z are very close to each other, then this would be e to the 0, which is about 1. But if x and z are very far apart, then this would be small. Right?
What
so
are the other characteristics?
It actually satisfies this criteria. It satisfies those criteria.
Kernel?
And the question is it okay to use this as a kernel function?
Okay, yes. Is it a kernel function? E2 minus x minus z over squared over 2 sigma squared. We should check if it has an inner. Is it an inner product or normal space qualities?
So it turns out that a function like that, k of xz, you can use it as a kernel function only if there exists some phi such that k of xz equals phi of x transpose phi of z, right? So we derived the whole algorithm assuming this to be true, and it turns out if you plug in the kernel function for which this isn't true, then all of the derivation we wrote down breaks down, and the optimization problem, can have very strange solutions that don't correspond to good classification, good classifier at all. And so this puts some constraints on what kernel functions we could use. For example, one thing we must satisfy is k of xx, which is phi of x transpose phi of z. This had better be greater than or equal to 0, right? Sorry. Right? Because inner product of a vector with a cell had better be non-negative. So if k of xx is ever 0 or less than 0, then this is not a valid kernel function. Okay. More generally, there's a theorem that proves when is something a valid kernel. So they just outline that proof.
What is a valid kernel?
Which is less than x1 up to xd, be any d points, right? And let's let.
So these are just linear algebra. These are not like machine learning.
This is so k represents a kernel function, and I'm going to use k to represent the kernel matrix as well. Sometimes it's also called the gram matrix, but it's called the kernel matrix. So the kij is equal to the kernel function applied to two of those points, xi and xj, right? So you have d points, so just apply the kernel function to every pair of those points and put them in a matrix, a big d by d matrix like that. So it turns out that given any vector z, and I think you've seen something similar to this in problem set 1, but given any vector z, z transpose kz, which is sum over I, sum over j, zi, kij, zj, right? If k is a valid kernel function, so if there is some feature mapping phi, then this should equal to sum of I, sum of j, zi, phi of xi transpose phi of z xj times zj. And by a couple other steps, let's see, this phi of xi transpose phi of xj, I'm going to expand out that inner product. So sum over k phi of xi element k times phi of xj element k times zj.
So we have a basis for this space.
Sums is sum over k.
So we have a basis for this space.
Just do an export.
And then that basis inner product is kij. Every vector can be
so we arrange sums,
written as based on the basis.
Sum over I, sum over j,
for
zi, phi of xi, subscript k, times phi of x, j,
All right.
times Ej, which is sum over k squared, and therefore this must be greater than or equal to 0. And so this proves that the matrix K, the kernel matrix K, is positive semi-definite. Okay. And so more generally, it turns out that this is also a sufficient condition for a kernel function, for a function K to be a valid kernel function. So let me just write this out. This is called Mercer's theorem.
Mercer's theorem.
So K
Keep it in mind, guys.
is a
Mercer's.
valid kernel. So K is a valid kernel function, i.e. there exists phi such that K of xz equals phi of x transpose phi of z if and only if for any d points, x1 up to xd, the corresponding kernel matrix is a positive semi-definite, so ranks k greater than equal to 0. And I proved just one dimension, one direction of this implication. Right? This proof outline here shows that if it is a valid kernel function, then
for
this is
any
positive semi-definite. This outline didn't prove the opposite direction. Right? So this if and only
Well,
if
for any
shows
d
both
points,
directions.
that's
So
too
this,
much,
algebra we did just
isn't it?
now proves
If
that
it is
dimension.
true
It
for
didn't prove the reverse dimension, but this turns out to be an if and only if condition. And so this gives maybe
d
one test.
independent, isn't it
Whether
enough?
something is a valid kernel function. Okay.
Isn't it enough
And
if
it
we
turns
have
out that
d
from the kernel I
independent
wrote up there,
points?
that one.
This is for
FXC.
how can we check? Okay, even if this theorem is true, this is for any d points. Well, of course we want it to be positive semi-definite for any d points. But we also, it's not easy to check. We want to have like d independent points and then say, okay, it is positive semi-definite, therefore K is a kernel.
Right. It turns out this is a valid kernel. This is called the Gaussian kernel. This is probably the most widely used kernel.
Wow.
Well,
What is the classification? Classes.
well, actually the most widely used kernel is maybe the linear kernel,
Linear is for linear regression, for sure.
which just uses k of xz.
Well, Gaussian kernel draws circle
So
around
this is using, phi of x equals
each
x,
point.
right?
Is
So
that it?
No high dimensional features. So sometimes you call it the linear kernel. It just means you're not using a high dimensional feature mapping, or feature mapping is just equal to the original features. This is actually a pretty commonly used kernel function. You're not taking advantage of kernels, in other words. But after the linear kernel, the Gaussian kernel is probably the most widely used kernel, the one I wrote up there. And this corresponds to a feature dimensional space that is.
Is it because in the frequency
This
space
this particular kernel function corresponds to using
it
all
looks
monomial
like a
features. So
linear.
if you have, x1,
I have
and
this
also
feeling.
x1, x2, and x1 squared,
It
x2,
looks good in
and
the
x1 squared,
frequency
x5,
and it looks like a
and so on,
linear.
up to x1 to the 10,000 and x2 to the 17, right? Whatever. So this particular kernel corresponds to using all these polynomial features without going to arbitrarily high dimension.
Okay, what are the
But
classes?
giving a smaller weighting to the variables.
Classes are circles
That's why it's
around X, right?
okay. Great. So the kernel, and toward the end, I'll give some other examples of kernels. So it turns out that the kernel trick is more general than the support vector machine. It was really popularized by the support vector machine, where researchers, I guess really Vladimir Vatnik and Coronel Cortez, found that applying this kernel trick to support vector machine makes for a very effective learning algorithm. But the kernel trick is actually more general, and if you have any learning algorithm that you can write in terms of inner products like this, then you can apply the kernel trick to it. And so you play with this for a different learning algorithm in the program assignments as well. Right? And the way to apply the kernel trick is take a learning algorithm, write the whole thing in terms of inner products, and then replace it with k of xz for some appropriately chosen kernel function k of xz. And all of the discriminative learning algorithms we've learned so far can be written in this way, so they can apply the kernel trick. So linear regression, logistic regression, everything in the generalized linear model family, the perceptron
Dude, how many sessions
all
it
of those
has? 20?
You can
It is 20 and we are
which means
7.
that you can, apply
We
linear
are like
regression in an infinite dimensional
1/3.
if you wish.
Guys, good job.
And later in this class, we'll
You're
talk about
past
components analysis. We should,
1/3.
talk about principal components
Yahoo!
analysis.
It's like a 3-pointer
There's
shoot.
an algorithm called kernel PCA, kernel principal components analysis. If you don't know what PCA is, don't worry about it. We'll get to it later. A lot of algorithms can be
Well, we have 13 sessions left.
to implicitly apply the algorithm.
I think I can finish it in a month.
Space, but without needing your computer. Actually, the single place is most powerfully applied.
Let's go, guys. Let's go, guys. We want machine learning in our life all day, all night, because we can find a job that pays us 200K at least. So if you go to Cool on Finance, you can make 700K. Ooh, a lot of money. Ooh, I don't want to go. Ooh, what do I want to go? Ooh, money, money, money. Ooh. I don't know that guy. I don't know who that guy is.
So, last two things I want to do today.
Last two things I want to do today.
Assumption that we have made that the data is linearly separable.
The day linearly separable.
So,
Guys, we are not as close.
sometimes you don't want your learning algorithm
Sorry.
to have
My apologies.
zero errors on the training set. Right?
Let's keep everything
So when
formal.
You take this low-dimensional data and map it to
We
very
are
high-dimensional
going
feature
to
space,
be
the
formal
data does become
here.
much more separable.
We have no joke
But
here.
It turns out that if your data
It
set is
turns
only
out that
noisy,
there is this line. We have these curves, crosses, and circles. And we have the first quadrant. And we have the first quadrant. These points are a bit mixed.
looks like this.
They are
Maybe
called
wanted to
data
find-
points. Any line I make, there are still some data points that stand out loud. What should I do with them? There's another curve.
So sometimes
This
you
can
don't
be
know
a
those
game
space
that you can play
you
at
don't
home,
know
and you
how
draw a
to
curve to
Sometimes
separate
in
them.
a high-dimensional feature space, your data may not be linearly separable. You don't want the algorithm to have zero error on the training set. And so there's an algorithm called the L1 norm.
L1 norm.
Soft margin SVM, which is a modification
Oh,
to the basic.
soft average. Yeah,
So the basic algorithm was min over this,
that's some.
right? Subject to
1/2 norm squared squared, 1/2 norm squared. Why should we minimize 1/2? What is the effect of 1/2? You know it is not true. But the constraint says y times wtx plus b greater than the 1.
So this optimization problem was saying, let's make sure each example has functional margin greater equal to 1. And in the our non-solved margin SVM, we're going to relax this. We're going to say that this needs to be bigger than 1.
We are gonna say every inner product space is a norm space, but every norm space does not have any inner inner product. Every inner product space has a norm, but every norm space does not have an inner product. Actually, most of them don't. It's just always the norm.
Two things be greater than 0.
A normed space with an inner product is called Hilbert space. Wow. Some stuff from 6 years ago, I guess. This memory is amazing.
If you allow CI.
Oh, whoa, wait.
Previously, this is saying that, so remember, this is the geometric.
So it's changing the optimization problem.
Right, if you normalize this by the normal W, it becomes, this is the functional margin. If you divide this by the normal W, it becomes the geometric margin. So this optimization problem was saying, let's make sure each example has functional margin greater than or equal to 1. And in the our non-solved margin SVM, we're going to relax this. We're going to say that this needs to be bigger than 1 minus c. There's a Greek alphabet c. And then we're going to modify the cost function as follows. Where these CI's are greater than or equal to 0. Okay? So remember, if the function margin is greater than or equal to 0, it means the
So he adds the CI's to the objective. He adds the CI's to the objective, and on the other hand, on the constraints, on the right hand side, he is subtracting 1 minus so these CI's are like they are like penalties, because we are minimizing the objective function. We are minimizing the objective function. So if your CI, so okay, what is he doing? He's relaxing, right? He's relaxing the constraints. He says, okay, you can go a bit below 1, but once you go below 1, I am punishing you in your objective function. Are these two the same though? Maybe you can find the omega norm in this forbidden extended space, that the norm is so small that it is making up for the punishment you are making.
We must classify that example correctly. So long as this thing is greater than 0,
they're not equivalent, I feel.
Y and this thing will have the same sign, either both positive or both negative. That's what it means. For a product of two things to be greater than 0, both things have to do the same sign, right? And so if this is so long as this is bigger than 0, it means it's classifying that example correctly. And the SVM is asking for it to not just classify it correctly, but classify it correctly with a functional margin of at least 1. And if you allow CI to be positive, then that's relaxing that constraint. Okay? But you don't want the CIs to be too big, which is why you add to the optimization cost function a cost for making CI too big. And so you optimize this as function of W, E, and these.
Why we started it? Why did we start it
if
from
you
the
go
beginning?
Picture, it turns out that
Because
you know, in this example,
I lost the point. Actually, I lost the point from the beginning. Not even this reformed version. Just from the beginning. Why should we want to minimize 1 squared rather than what is omega?
with that being the
Oh,
optimization
omega is
function,
the slope.
it turns out that these examples, these three examples will be equidistant from this straight line, right? Because if they weren't, then you could fiddle the straight line to improve the margin even a little bit more. It turns out that these three examples have functional margin exactly equal to 1. And this example over there will have functional margin equal to 2, and further away examples have even bigger functional margins. And what this optimization objective is saying that is okay if you have the example here with functional margin. So everything, right? So everything here has functional margin 1. If an example here will have functional margin a little bit less than 1, and this by setting CI to 0.5, say, is letting you get away with having functional margin a little bit less than 1. And one other reason why you might want to use the L1 norm soft margin SVM is the following, which is, let's say you have a data set that looks like this. You know, it seems like that would be a pretty good decision boundary. But if we add just, you know, we have a lot of examples, there's a lot of evidence, but if you have just one outlier, say over here, then technically the data set is still linearly separable. Right? If you really want to separate this data set, sorry, I seem to be killing these pens myself as well. Right. If you want to separate out this data set, you can actually, you know, choose that decision boundary. But the basic optimal margin classifier will allow the presence of one training example to cause you to have this dramatic swing in the position of the decision boundary. So because the original optimal margin classifier, it optimizes for the worst case margin. The concept of optimizing for the worst case margin allows one example, by being the worst case training example, to have a huge impact on your decision boundary. And so the L1 non-soft margin SVM allows the SVM to still keep the decision boundary closer to the blue line, even when it's
okay, so we ignore that.
And it makes it much more robust otherwise.
Much more robust. Much more robust. I want a robust algorithm.
Representative derivation, you know, represent W as a function of the alphas and so on. It turns out that the problem then simplifies to the following.
To the following.
So this is, I'm just.
I'm a rebel and go. I'm
Right,
always on the
after
run.
you know the whole representative calculation, derivation. This is just what we had previously. I've not changed anything so far. Right, this is just exactly what we had.
Guys, ignore whatever I said about basketball. I think even if you bring the hoop, loop, rope, ball on the ground, I cannot even shoot it.
The only change is that you end up with this additional condition. Right, the constraints with the alpha are between 0 and C. And it turns out that today there are very good, packages, software packages for just solving that for you. I think once upon a time we were doing machine learning, you need to worry about whether your code for inverting matrices was good enough, right? When code for inverting matrices was less mature, it's just one thing you have to think about. But today, linear algebra, packages have gotten good enough that when you invert a matrix, you just invert a matrix. You don't have to worry too much. When we solve them, you don't have to worry too much about it. So in the early days of SVM, solving this problem was really hard. You had to worry if your optimization package is
Optimization problem. Packages, there are packages, there are packages. Just solve this problem for you.
The details that much.
Details that much.
All right. So this L1 non-soft margin SVM,
Dude, this is not me. This is the problem with
something we need to choose. We'll talk on Wednesday about how to choose this parameter, but it trades off how much you want to insist on getting the training examples right, versus saying it's okay if you label a few training examples wrong. We'll discuss on Wednesday. We'll discuss bias and variance, how to choose a parameter like C.
When he says Wednesday, it doesn't mean we are going to. We are going to tomorrow.
I want to.
Okay.
The last thing I'd like you to see today is
we are in rush, man. We're late.
Let me just give. All right. So it turns out the SVM with a polynomial kernel works quite well. So this
really?
is k of x.
Good for you.
Z equals x
transpose for you.
This is called a polynomial kernel. And this is called a Gaussian kernel. It's really a
Gaussian
the most widely used one is the Gaussian kernel, right? And it turns out that I guess early days of SVMs, one of the proof points for SVMs was theater machine learning was doing a lot of work on handwritten digit classification. So a digit is a matrix of pixels with values that are 0 or 1 or maybe grayscale values. And so you take a list of pixel intensity values and list them. So this is 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, and just list out all the pixel intensity values. Then this can be a feature X, and you feed it to an SVM using either of these kernels. It'll do not too badly as a handwritten digit classification. So there's a classic dataset called MNIST, which is a classic benchmark in history of machine learning, and it was a very surprising result.
We are normal.
Many years ago that support vector machine with a kernel like this does very well on.
It's going to work. It's going to work.
In the past several years, we found that deep learning
throw it like this.
Neural networks do SVM.
Come on, I'm back to my game, man.
There aren't a lot of parameters that fit work, so that's the one very nice property about it.
Okay, guys.
But more generally,
the
most innovative work in SVMs has been in the design of kernels. So here's one example. Let's say you want a protein sequence classifier.
Ooh, protein. Guys, this part is important.
So
protein sequences
are made up of amino acids. So there's a lot of our bodies are made of proteins, and proteins are just sequences of amino acids. And there are 20 amino acids.
Okay, we're going to learn how to rope today.
In order to simplify the description and really not worry too much about biology,
because that's where you want to be on your
I'm going to
horse.
pretend there are 26 amino acids, even though there are 26 atoms. So I'm going to use the alphabets A through Z to denote amino acids, even though I know
When you
this
throw the
doesn't
rope, you want to get the two
it's
horns. You don't want to get it around the neck. When you're going around the horn, you're not
And so
choking
protein is a sequence of
It's kind of like
alphabets.
somebody grabbing your wrist. Two things you need in order to learn how to throw a rope. You need a broom handle or a fork, and you need a flat stone.
Because the protein in your body is a sequence, is made up of a sequence of amino acids. And amino acids can be very long, some can be very long, some can be very short. So the question is, how do you represent?
The technique for throwing the rope, when you release, your index finger should be pointing at the left horn. And it's the same technique
So it
you use
turns
when
out,
you're trying to skip a
and so
stone or a pond.
the goal is to be able to input X and make a prediction about
Wrist rolls.
this particular
That's how you roll.
what is the function of this
Okay,
I'm a
we're
big guy. I want to follow this
And
fucking
so,
channel.
well, here's one way to design a feature vector, which is I'm going to list out all combinations
I am going to
of
I am
four
going
amino
to
acids.
I am going
You
to
can tell
buy
this will take a while.
I'm
Go
going
down to A, Z, and then A,
I am going to
and so
I
on.
am going to
And eventually,
I am going to
JT, TSTA, down to ZZZZ.
Z
And then I'm going to construct
DNA
events.
protein, DNA protein, amino
According to the
acid.
number of times I see this
Didn't work.
sequence.
Oh, I got the keyboard.
For example, BAJT appears twice. I'm going to put 2 there. TSTA, right, appears once. So I'm put a 1 there.
That's very small, to be honest.
No A, B's, no A, C's, and so on. Okay. So this is a 20 to the
20 to the 4.
26 to the 4, 20 to the 4 dimensional feature vector. So
Can't
this is a
believe
very, very high
20
dimensional
to the
feature
4.
vector.
It's
And
like
it turns out that
16.
using some statistics, 20 to the 4 is 160,000. It's pretty high dimensional, quite expensive.
What am I
And it
doing?
turns out
My
that
hat
using
doesn't
dynamic
work.
programming, given 2 amino acid sequences, you can compute 5x transpose 5z as k of xz. And there's a dynamic programming algorithm for doing this. The details aren't important for personal CS209. If any of you have taken an advanced CS algorithms course and learned about the Knuth-Morris-Pratt algorithm, it's quite similar to that. So Don Knuth, right, Stanford professor, emeritus professor here. So the DP algorithm is quite similar to that. And using this is
That's
actually
better.
quite, this is actually a pretty decent algorithm. Sequence of, say, amino acids and training a supervised learning algorithm to make a binary classification on amino acid sequences. So as your classical vector machines, one of the things you see is that depending on the input data you have, there can be innovative kernels to use in order to measure the similarity of 2 amino acid sequences or the similarity of 2 whatever else, and then to use that to build a classifier, even on a very strange shaped object, which do not come as a view.
My camera. Let me
So,
connect with
and
my
I think actually another example, if the input X is a histogram,
viewers.
maybe you have 2 different countries, you have histograms.
Do you think how many reps in a second is
Turns
it?
out that there is a kernel that taking the min of the 2 histograms and then summing up. to
1,
compute
2,
the kernel
3,
function
4,
of
5,
the
6, 7, 8.
histograms and measures how similar they are. So there may be
I
different
say
kernel functions
5,
for many
5,
different
5.
types of inputs you might want to process. So that's it for SVMs. Very useful algorithm, and what we'll do on Wednesday is continue with more advice on, now that you know all of these learning algorithms, we'll talk about bias and variance to give you more advice on how to actually apply them. So let's break, and then I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday.
Let me know what you're doing on Wednesday. Let me do what I'm. Okay, guys, don't. Well, he's going to start. Hey guys, we will see you next time. Thank you, Andrew, NG. Some people told me it's Andrew Eng. I don't know, honestly. Anyway, we are grateful. Also, he had I just saw it today, he has a interview with Lex Friedman. Maybe I watch it. Maybe we watch it. Yep.